All right, now we're on number 5, and I'm going to show you how to use a graphing calculator to draw a graph of this. And I'm sorry for assigning this problem. I did not read this carefully that they wanted you to write and graph, because graphing this is going to be pretty tricky, right? Without a table of values. So you will have to know in Algebra 2 how to use your graphing calculator to do this. So the problem is you've got sales. Why is the sales can be modeled by this. And we want to know, do the sales ever get to be $24 billion? Y is in billions of dollars. So we know that we have to set everything over on one side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract. So if I have 24 equals this, that gives me an equation, but I want to graph it. To graph it, we need our y, correct? So the system of equations, well, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sorry about that. If you have a graphing calculator, if you don't worry about it. But if you do, you can walk through this with me. Do you see this y equals? If you have something in there, you can clear it out. The system of equations that we are going to have is a horizontal line at y equals 24. And then we're going to have the other graph that we have here. So y is equal to, I'm going to have to kind of move this 0.05. For your variable, here's your variable key, x. Then you use your caret squared. Please don't use this when you're graphing. Sometimes that goofs up. On my calculator, do you see how my cursor is up there? So if you cursor over once, then it brings it down. So we have our negative 0.05x squared plus 2.2x, and then plus 7. So this is a quadratic that I'm going to graph. Now I have to set my window. Normally, your window would go from x equals negative 10 to 10 and y equals negative 10 to 10. Well, I know that my 0 time is going to be the year 1990. That's kind of my starting point. I don't know how many years that it might take, so I'm just going to use 20. That's just a guess. The scale, I'm going to go by 1. So these are the years for 20 years. Now I know that my y is my sales. I'm not interested in any negative sales, and I want my graph to go up as high as 24. So I could start here at 0, but I have to have this at least 24, so I'm just going to do 26, right? Once you get your window set, then you hit the graph key. There's my y equals 24. Here goes my sales. All right, great. Do you see how I can't see the rest of it? That's fine, that happens all the time. Go back in your window. I need to see a little bit more of my x, so I'm gonna just take this out to, I don't know, how about 50? And I don't really like that I can't see the upper part of this, so I'm gonna go up to 35. These are all just guesses. So let's graph this again. There we go. We get a little bit better picture. All right, so this is graphing the system of equations that show us the amount in sales and when the sales reach $24 billion. So the first question is determine the number of values of x that correspond to y equals 24. The number of values, we get 2, correct? And B, were there any years during the period in which the sales reached $24 billion? Yes, of course they are. What are they? Well, you could do the quadratic formula, but here's a pretty cool thing. Do you see this calc? So if you do second that, and we want to calculate where these graphs intersect. So this is a hint that a lot of people don't know. And then I'm going to cursor that little guy over here. So do you see how it says the first curve? I'm on one line. I'm going to enter. And then it says, hey, am I on the second curve? Yes. And then it says guess. Just ignore that. You press enter one last time. And it will tell you the intersection right there. When x equals 10, y is equal to 24. You just got a solution to your quadratic equation. So it's going to reach $24 billion in sales 10 years after 1990. And you can do it again. We can second calculate the intersection, but now I want to go over to this intersection, right? Do you see how it says first curve? As soon as you get close, you can stop, say, yep, I'm on my first curve. Am I on my second curve? Yep. Do I want to guess? No, thank you. And boom. The other answer is 34 years after 1990. You also will have $24 billion in sales. So there's some insider information on how to use your graphing calculator. I hope you enjoyed it.